two, 1, 2, 3.
We, Tyler and Dionna, will begin a life as one as an act of obedience to the calling God has given us. We understand that we are both sinners and desperately need God's grace. It is through Him alone that this covenant will succeed. Our desire is that our marriage will honor God. By His grace, this can happen through dying to ourselves, serving each other, serving and leading others, living a life of love, forgiving as God has forgiven us, and preaching the gospel with our lives and words.
Hey guys, thanks so much for coming to our wedding. We are so glad that you're here and so glad that you're a part of our lives. And just wanted everyone to know that you are just a wonderful community and we are so blessed to have you. And we would not be here today or who we are today without you guys.
Over the past couple of months that Dionna and I have been engaged, we've got to kind of reflect on our story a lot and really kind of stand and marvel at who God is by Him bringing us together and seeing how really in control He is over every aspect of our lives. I was blessed to be a youth pastor for 2 years at a little town called Fort Cobb, and Dionna was from Verdon, which is 30 miles away from Fort Cobb. And I was there for 2 years, and Dionna was there helping with her youth group when she was home and things like that. So our churches would always come together and do things together, and we had never met that whole time. And then God takes us halfway across the world to meet each other. We met in China, so it's cool to see how God was sovereign and in control of every situation that brought us together.
So Tyler and I are getting married because we feel that God has called us to that place and He has just given us a desire to love each other. And we just feel that what we want to do will be best accomplished and glorify God better together than we ever could separately.
We understand that marriage is very difficult. It's not always butterflies and rainbows and cupcakes and what the movies make it out to be. It's a lot of fighting and it's a lot of war. We're two sinners. I'm a sinner and she's a sinner, and we live in a sinful world, and that causes a lot of complications sometimes. So we know going into this that it's gonna be hard and we're gonna have to fight for it. And sometimes we're not gonna like each other that much, but by God's grace, He's gonna allow us to battle through that stuff together. And in the end, our main goal in marriage is to look more like Jesus.
Going with what he says in Scripture, when you read about marriage, it's always commands that God has to give us. So wives, submit to your husband. Husbands, love your wives and don't be angry towards them. It's commands that God gives us, not just like, oh, you can do this on your own. God has to command us to do that. We have to choose to do that. We have to, like Tyler was saying, fight our flesh and say no to ourselves and die to ourselves, and definitely put the other first all the time. And so it's definitely going to be a struggle. It's going to be hard, but the ultimate goal is to look like Jesus, and that's what marriage can take you to.
The fun thing about marriage, and maybe the most scary thing about marriage, is we're going to be completely exposed in front of each other. Dionna is going to know everything about me, and I her. That's the good, and the scary part is that's the bad too. Like I can't hide who I am anymore. When I'm at my weakest and when I'm at my most vulnerable, Dionna's going to see that. And like as a man, I don't want to show that. I don't want to show when I'm weak. But that's when she gets to come in and encourage me and point me to Jesus and say, His grace is sufficient in your weakness. And I get to do that for her too. I get to see Dionna at her weakest and her most vulnerable. And I get to come in like Jesus would and love her and encourage her and point her to the cross and how His grace is sufficient. You guys have been our community leading up to this point. And like Dionna said, we're not who we are right now without you guys pouring into our lives and investing in us. And that doesn't stop after we get married. We still have our community that is going to pour into our lives, and we get to do that also. So we invite you to hold us accountable and ask me if I'm dying to myself and being a loving husband, and ask Dionna if she is dying to herself and being an encourager and a loving wife. So we want that. We want to grow. We want to look like Jesus, and that's going to happen more effectively when our community is involved in that also. So thank you.
Thank you. Yay. We're getting married. Stay tuned.